Hello. So today I've been brought in as a sort of a guest speaker on the subject of ghosts. A lot of people have some really strange ideas about ghosts. It's not an easy life, especially nowadays. Hollywood's been really sort of punching up ghost levels. You've got to have all the rotting flesh and sort of milky white eyes, or else you've got to crawl out of a well or something these days. But us traditional ghosts, we're the purists, really. This is the way things were always done. I remember the clanky change thing being brought in the 19th century. These are people who were a bit of too much of a fan of Charles Dickens, I think. But that's the way things go. There are trends, all sorts of things. Camouflage ghost costumes is a thing that goes on nowadays. Doesn't really happen to me a lot because, as you can see, I'm just the ghost of this audio booth. It's not really much of a haunting gig, really, as things go. I was just a poor guy that was crushed underneath the thing. But for the most part, we wear these to keep up with the original ghosts, who were always, as you might notice by the garb, people who were accidentally suffocated to death in their sheets. And then the popularity of being a ghost just sort of spread. Now, occasionally, we need sort of camouflage wear. I ordered this one online the other day. So, this is your basic hiding in IKEA camouflage, because, we get a lot of weird ideas about ghosts. Scooby-Doo has an awful lot to answer for on that point. Quite often, our main gig is really we sort of sneak up to people in the bedroom and in the middle of the night, wait till they're asleep, whisper in their ear, tickle them a bit with a feather, just enough to wake them up and make sure they have a really crappy night's sleep. But not really enough to sort of scare them. John Carpenter. Now there's a fella that didn't do us any favours at all. Then all of a sudden we had to have hooks. They were all the rage. Personally, I think it's all a put on. It's just folks trying to sell new ghost garb. But, hang on. I always get a bit uncomfortable in this. It's itchy and it kind of rides up a bit around the crotch, this ghost costume. I'll be back in a second. There you go. Always feel better in this. Now, there's all sorts of things over the years that have done us no end of harm, These ghost hunters, now they're out for us now again. We always hide behind the curtains. But this is what makes this sort of disguise an awful lot easier. I mean, you don't want to see what we look like under this. You really don't. But, what are you going to do? Anyway, I came here to talk to you about ghosts. And so far, I've not been doing a terribly good job, have I? I would have made it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Anyway, there we go. Ghosts. I don't know. What do you want me to say about ghosts? I don't really believe in ghosts, to be perfectly honest with you. I used to believe in ghosts. This is a thing that you hear from a lot of people, but I actually did genuinely used to believe in ghosts. I used to have all the books and things when I was a kid. But I remember reading all sorts of different things. I got into photography. Now, if you get into photography, that's a good way to put yourself off believing in ghosts, because you start to realise just how all these ghostly images were even accidentally created years ago, let alone if you want to do it on purpose. That's dead easy. I was driving home one night when I lived in the Peak District. I was driving home one night and it was fairly misty, and I saw what I would swear to you was a person walking across the road in front of the car. And it just looked so human-shaped. Yes, it was misty, but then all of a sudden there was a much brighter sort of outline of a person walking through this mist. And I didn't think very much about it, and it was only a couple of weeks later when I was coming back down the same road and the same thing happened in exactly the same spot that I kind of backed up and watched this thing back across the road like that. There's no traffic, it's the middle of the night, so there's no problem. And what I realised after a while, I was determined to find out what had caused this. So I went all the way down the road to where this road sort of snakes like that, and it's covered in trees. big tall trees on either side, and because it's sort of chicanes and there are houses, a couple of 3-4 houses dotted, everyone has like a convex mirror at the end of their driveway. And what happens is the sunlight, the headlights come through the trees, they bounce off these mirrors and are eventually reflected back onto the mist, and presumably the shape of the light as it comes through the branches makes that kind of person shape. But you know, I'm just one of those really boring guys who's always going to put you off ghosts by giving away the ending, really. But